So I started that just so folks that weren't able to join today can still see what our meeting was about. So what I'm going to do now is share my screen. Okay. So go ahead and give me a thumbs up if you are seeing modules right now in Canvas. Okay. So the way I've recommended navigating this course from the beginning was through Canvas modules, and that's going to be even more important now than previously. And the reason is I have all of the assignments in the sequence that it makes the most sense to follow. So let's go ahead and move down to kind of stuff that we're working on now. Hopefully you've started finishing up some of your muscle fatigue stuff, maybe even through exam 4, that last practical. So I'm just going to show you Unit 4. If you're not here yet, that's okay. But you'll notice that both of these assignments are due on April 8th. But you're going to have a much better time completing Visible Body if you do the Nearpod first. And that's true for sort of everything in that sequence. So you definitely want to navigate through our course using the module section. So what I'm going to do now is hop over to the course schedule. If you don't remember how to access this, this is in the getting started part of the modules in Canvas. So really, we are fairly comfortable, at least I hope, with navigating the Nearpods at this point. So none of that is changing. The only significant part of that that's changing is I obviously don't have a way of getting you the guided notes anymore, like a printed form, but you still have access to those. So the guided notes are always going to be found in the content and tasks area for each particular topic. So if you click on this content and tasks, it shows you everything that you need to do for the cardiovascular system. And in that, it has the guided notes embedded for each Nearpod, as well as the visible body or the quizzes that you're supposed to do. For the case studies, I got approval to get rid of some of those case studies to help lower your workload burden, because again, I know this is really overwhelming. The only sort of exception to that is for all bio classes in every single class at any Maricopa College, we have to do a critical thinking assessment. For our class, we're going to explore the endocrine system through a case study. It's going to be different than the other case studies because you're going to be able to work on your own and at your own pace and use like whatever resources you can. So let me just jump to that quickly. And by quickly, I mean slowly because, internet. So this is basically one of your last assignments. So after you go through the endocrine system, it's called the Endocrine Critical Thinking Assessment. So if I click on this, it basically gives me just an overview of what it is. You're going to be progressing through a case study individually. And basically, what it is you get some information and then you answer some questions. You get more information and answer more questions. The key thing about this is that you have to go through it in sequence. So once I go back here, you won't be able to see part 2 until you've completed part 1. So if you're like, Professor, why can't I see part 2? That's because you haven't gone through that first part yet. So that's the only thing that's really different than what we're used to as far as the case studies. And then labs are now going to be obviously online. They are very similar to what we would be doing in person. You'll just be working through virtual simulations or data or videos, that sort of thing. But if you're ever stuck on any of the labs, again, feel free to shoot me an email. I will be holding office hours, which is going to be through this platform that we're using, WebEx, and I'll have those posted that you can just drop in. But if you can't meet during that time, feel free to send me an email or we can schedule an appointment to meet outside of that. So basically, the entire semester you have access to right now. The only exception is I don't yet have this lab created, the FEV and exercise lab, but I should have that done in the next couple of days. Other than that, everything you have access to and you can work at your own pace. The schedule is recommended, which means you don't have to follow it. So you can submit assignments anytime after the deadline and there will be no late penalty, but everything has to be completed by May 15th at 11:59 p.m. So I strongly encourage that you follow the recommended schedule, because if you're kind of lackadaisical and you're not doing a lot of assignments, you might find yourself like cramped with a ton of stuff to do at the end of April or beginning of May, and that's just not ideal for you. Okay, so then lab practicals. If you haven't been following my announcements, the lab practicals are now in Visible Body as opposed to Canvas. The reason behind that is we won't be having the time to actually physically interact with models. So I didn't think it was fair to have a quiz of pictures of models when you never got the chance to interact with the models. So it's all going to be in Visible Body. You have practice practicals in Visible Body, so you have a sense of what the practical is going to look like, and you have 2 attempts for the practical. So only your best score will be used. So definitely take advantage of that. Let's see, exams are going to be using Lockdown Browser. And I think that's pretty much everything. So I'm going to stop my screen share. And then I'm going to open it up for any questions that you have. So feel free to unmute yourself and ask questions.
So we don't have to use the lockdown browser for the Visible Body for
Correct.
the practical? Okay.
Yep. Yep. So the practicals, I think, my guess is you'll score higher than you would have otherwise, because you get those 2 attempts. But I know that Visible Body can be kind of frustrating for some because you have to like hide and navigate that. So that's why I did the 2 attempts to give you that option.
Sure.
Any other questions? Oh, I guess let me quickly share my screen again. I also have updated the Canvas section to have all of the anatomy checklists. So let's go to, so for example, we were going to do a heart dissection in person. So I have a video created, and then I'll have things like this: heart anatomy checklist and practice. This is that homework that we used to work on that you didn't have to turn in, but it gave you the checklist of everything I expected you to know for the practical. So that's still going to be true. So you still have those checklists of terms that you're going to be responsible for. And I also have the keys to those posted as well. So they'll be right in that same area. So here's the video, and then these are the keys for all anatomy stuff. So any other questions? Again, now is the time to ask, because you're probably not the only one with a question. You can also use the chat if you don't want to talk. Okay, so this is the only time we're going to be meeting kind of all together as a class. From here on out, it's going to be working at your own pace. So there's not going to be like a regularly scheduled meeting, but I will always be accessible through email and through those office hours. And remember, every time you come to my office hours, you can get a point of extra credits. You definitely want to take advantage of that. Okay, so if you don't have any other questions, this was the whole point of the meeting, is just making sure you're up to speed on what the class expectations are. So if you feel good, you're welcome to sign off. Otherwise, I'm going to hang out for another 15 minutes or so. It's great seeing everyone.
So the digestive system worksheet, is that in Unit 4 then?
Right.
Okay.
So
I might have printed it out early because I don't have a printer, and so I was over at my neighbor's house printing, and I printed out like the heart stuff. But in the lab practical, there was like in the explanation there was a part at the top that said the digestive system is in lab practical 2, and I was like, it probably means 4 because we haven't done it yet.
Okay, so yeah, send me an email about that, because I need to get that corrected wherever that says that. But yeah, the digestive anatomy is now in Unit 5, actually.
Okay.
So yeah, if you don't mind sending me that email, that way I can get that corrected. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if ever
last semester or something, but it's just
exactly
like it says lab practical 2 or lab practical 3, and it's all mixed up. So
if ever you see anything like that, please let me know, because I want to reduce any confusion. And there might be some errors as I was transitioning this to fully online. So please, please let me know when that sort of stuff happens. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. That's it.
Any other questions? How are your other classes? Are professors helpful? Is it intimidating?
It's really hard for me because my other two classes are studio art classes. So
Mm,
it's not translating well at all. My teachers are all scrambling to figure out what we're going to do for our projects now.
yeah.
Like my 3D modeling design, that one's like out the window. Like we don't have any access to tools or supplies because he doesn't want us going out to stores right now. And so we're just
Yeah.
trying to figure out what to do. It's really
Oh,
rough. This class is the one that's translated the best so far.
yeah. I can't even imagine what you would do in that scenario. I know that a
Mm-hmm.
lot of folks with those really hands-on classes like aviation and nursing, it's hard. So I have to share, hopefully, a funny story about WebEx. We had this like all faculty meeting with WebEx. It was like, I don't know, 100 or so faculty. And a lot of faculty members like have never used anything like it before. So they didn't realize their video was on or didn't realize their microphone was on. And like they'd go to the bathroom and flush the toilet, or they're like cussing because they can't figure it out. So you guys are just like, you're nailing it. You're handling it well. Yeah, my advice would be just to be patient with your faculty members, your professors. A lot of them also are struggling with this transition and they have their own kiddos at home, so just try to be patient with them. So anyone else want to chime in? Tell us how you're doing. Any other questions? How do you feel about this course? Are you nervous or do you feel like we're gonna work through it?
I'm kind of worried, to be honest, because I never really did my homework from home. Every time after we had our in person class meeting, I would always go to Pecos campus for my other class, and then I would literally stay hours after school just studying for the tests, especially when I had to do them on the campus. I would go 3 hours early, I'd study for 3 hours, and then I'd go take the test. And now it's just like I'm at home, I'm just not really in that mindset at all.
Yeah.
Especially now that I'm working a lot too. I've been working like 50-hour weeks because of the virus. Yeah, we have a lot of people. I work at Target, and we have a lot of people that are coming in and just buying out everything that we have. We have lines every single morning around the building, just looking for toilet paper and all these other essentials. And so I've been staying and pulling really late shifts. They actually doubled our pay. Well, not doubled our pay, but they added $2 extra to our hourly rate to try and encourage us to keep working. So it's just I come home exhausted every day.
I was
I
going to
don't want to do
say
work.
I'm sure nice to get the extra income, but I don't know if
Uh-huh.
everyone would say that it's worth it. I've heard people say it's like Black Friday times 10 every day. Would you feel that that's true?
Yes, I would
I
agree. I would think guests are just as crabby. There's too many people. A lot of people are going for the same items and don't have a lot. I've had people who like just snap at me, make rude comments all the time. It's like it's not my fault we don't have this stuff, you guys. But it is what
yeah.
it is.
I'm sorry that's happening to you. I wish more people were not as greedy and selfish and, you know. Has anyone lost their job because of the situation if you're willing to share? I see folks are raising their hand. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where did you work, if you don't mind sharing?
I worked at Wildflowers, so like I was a cook there. So in the restaurant industry, no one's really. I mean, there are some, but it's for a big like corporation. They only closed. They only have like 3 locations open in Arizona. So yeah, just more time for school.
Yeah.
I kind of can't go back to work. Um, I work in public safety at Pecos campus, and like I work in federal work studies, so they're like oh, like, oh, you can't come back until like your contract is over, which is at the end of the semester. So
So you're still contracted even though you don't have to physically go in?
yeah, so
That's
I'm
good at
lucky
least.
with that, but I don't gotta.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I'm a
saw some.
volleyball coach for two different for school and then for club, and the seasons got canceled. So I'm just and like my husband's was full time school, and so we have no income. So we're like, well, we're surviving so far.
Yeah, so I was gonna say if anyone's in that sort of situation, definitely either reach out to me or some of our services because there's options, and then filing for unemployment and
Mm-hmm. Yep.
yeah, it's kind of scary to think about like how long this is gonna last for. So right now we're deciding on summer, but potentially extending that to fall. And then just thinking about the economy, like how long can people survive this sort of shutdown before it really starts costing? So it's wild. And it's just so weird for me because I remember right before spring break was really the first time we talked about it as a class. And I was like, well, it's still kind of far away. Like the flu is more scary, but then that quickly changed. And it's all of a sudden it's in your backyard and that situation escalates really fast. And when we first heard, when I got back from my trip, it was like, yeah, this is only going to be 2 weeks that you're working from home and then back to school. And it's just like interesting to think that that was ever even a possibility, just 2 weeks. Like we know that the virus can incubate in your body for like 30 days. So it's just wild that that was even like, the communications that were sent out.
I just feel like we're at the beginning of like a horrible like apocalypse movie. Like
Yeah.
cameras, there's no one on the street, all the parks are like shut down, like there's no one at sporting events. I'm usually an optimist, but I'm like, this is starting to look like an apocalypse.
Yeah. Has anyone seen the movie Contagion?
I refuse to watch it.
Yeah, it's kind of older-ish, but yeah, if you have seen it, it totally feels like that. And then I'm sort of a optimist and a pessimist at the same time, but I try to like make humor out of like dark situations because that's like how I process. So every time I go to the grocery store, I tell my husband it's like we're in The Walking Dead and I need to make a supply run, and it's like we have this whole process of like, okay, now that we're back from the grocery store, we got to go shower and it's interesting because the reality is most folks that are healthy and don't have preconditions are recovering, but yet it's still this really scary thing that you don't want to spread, right?
We live with my husband's grandma, so we like have to be so careful about who we are around because like we share the same like laundry room and like garage door and like everything. You have to like everything you
Yeah.
touch.
I think what's super frustrating to me is the lack of being able to get tested in our country now. Like, I have so many friends, like even my household, like all of us have come down with this mysterious cold. My boyfriend got it, and then it spread to me, and then it spread to then to his mom, and like she is high risk because she has asthma, so she actually got to take an LOA. But because we can't get tested, we can't like verify that we have it to our workplace, so we can't get that 2 weeks paid time off. And so I like burned through all of my sick time because I stayed home
Ugh.
for a week when I was sick, and I went through all my sick time. So now I have no other options. I have to go to work, and that's the same for a lot of my coworkers. Like yesterday, there was a girl. She was literally like throwing up in the bathroom, and I was like, "You need to go home." And she was like, "I can't. I have no more sick time, and I have a 2-year-old to provide for." And I was like, "Okay, I get it, but there's a point where you really need to go home. Like if I was thrown up, I would not be there, but if I'm
Yeah.
just like, and it just sucks because there was like an old guy who was walking down the aisle, and I literally like had to stop. And I was like, "Sir, do you like need anything?" Like I was gonna put on like some gloves. We all wear gloves and masks at our store now, And I was like, I can like quickly just shop for you because he was like limping around. I was like, are you okay? He's like, yeah, my hip just acts up sometimes. And I just felt so bad for him because I was like, why isn't someone else shopping for him? Because he's
Yeah.
so old and frail. And I was like, you're gonna get it. And I was worried for him, but he was like, thank you for the concern, and he walked away. But I just feel so bad for the people who are sick, and I see a lot of people who are like, I need to get tested, and they just can't. We don't have access to it. And it just really sucks. Like, I think there's like an estimated 300,000 people who have it and just don't know it because they can't get tested, that are just walking around because they don't know they have it.
Yeah. It's really like, without getting too political, I feel like it's highlighting our system right now. But it's just really alarming to see how there's differences in socioeconomic status and just race about who can access the test. So my whole family was able to get tested, even though we only had 2 out of the 4 or 5 symptoms, only because we traveled internationally and because we were like persistent about it. And luckily, our test came back negative, but my mom in Flagstaff was like really, really sick, and she has asthma and other lung problems. So she was really struggling. She was able to get tested, but my dad, who lives with her, it was a struggle to get him to get tested, even though he's probably in close contact, presumed positive. But yeah, it's just wild. And my husband has a coworker who's now 20 something weeks pregnant, has a fever, and yet she's not approved for testing. It's just wild.
Yeah, my boyfriend's mom, when she had it, she tried to go get tested, and they say that they're not even offering it to. So I don't know if you heard, but Banner Health has like pop-up testing centers, and apparently they're like in discrete locations. You can only access them if you have an appointment by a doctor at a set time. Because before that, they just let it be free for all, and there was like lines of like 600 cars. Eventually, they had to like shut it down. But she went to go get tested, and her doctor was like, "I'm pretty sure you have it, but I can't get you tested because you can only be tested now if you're over the age of 65, if you have an autoimmune disease, if you have a fever of 100 for 48 hours or more, and all these other underlying conditions." And it's just so frustrating because like all of our employees are not under over 65. So even if we did have it, we can't get tested. And I feel like they should be offering some sort of compensation for that.
Yeah, and not only that, but if you have it and you're still going to work, you're now spreading it, right?
Exactly. I feel like guilty going into work sometimes just because I might have like a little cough still, but it's like, I don't know, there's just so much, there's only so much I can do at this point. I wear a mask and I, stifle my coughs. I wash my hands so much that they're like rubbed raw. They're like really red and dry right now.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
but yeah, it's scary. And I work in the baby department, and I've had moms come up to me and they're angry and they go, when are you getting this formula? And I go, I don't know. We're sold out. I look and I see that we're not getting a shipment. And they're just like, what am I going to feed my baby? And I'm just like it's so sad. And
Yeah.
I've got a whole bunch of angry moms, and they're just like, people are buying all of our baby wipes. Like those are hot commodities right now. Let's put them in the back, and we reserve them up until um, the line is gone, and then I can push them out onto the floor. But like, it's never been so empty in my department. It's ridiculous.
Mm.
And so many people are just fighting for baby wipes, and it's frustrating because I can't like prioritize people. Like I'll see this couple, and they do not have a baby, or like these old people, and like I can tell that there are moms who actually have like infants who need these baby wipes, and then there's people who maybe don't really need them, and I can't like prioritize. I just have to give them whatever they want, and it's just like I know there's people who could be using this more, but just me.
Yeah, that's tough. A really tough situation to be in. It's just, yeah, I don't think anyone quite predicted that we were going to be where we are right now. But I mean, as far as limitations to testing, it kind of makes sense. If you have, an X number of tests, you need to prioritize that to people who are at the most risk. But um, it's just
For
wild that
sure.
we have limited tests at all, right?
I know. Um, yeah, I was happy to hear that they've apparently started testing like, medical professionals who like those are obviously priority number one. We got to keep those people healthy because they're the only ones who know how to help us. But so at least there's that. Like they are getting it to some people who are not necessarily over the age of 65, but just people who are around sick people all the time. And it's just scary for me because, like I said, like there's a lot of people in our store, and it's just frustrating because they'll start bringing like their whole family too. I get it. Like sometimes you can't, like your kids are not in school anymore. They're with you all the time. But like I just see like groups of teenagers and just all these kids. I saw a couple like shopping for some furniture the other day, and I'm like, what are you doing here? you know? It's just we're not doing our part.
Agreed.
Yeah, it's interesting too. Not that this is the case at all, but I know that a lot of single moms, they have no alternatives, so they have to bring their kids. And I guess single moms are being like shamed, which is not ideal either. But then people are also not taking it seriously. And I had to go to the grocery store, and it was like this whole family and like multiple adults there with 4 or 5 kids, and it's just like if you have the option, try to avoid it. But
Exactly. Like I know there's people who literally cannot find anyone. Like you obviously shouldn't be getting babysitters right now, so you have to take your child to the store. But yeah, I'm talking about like the families that I see with multiple like adults. Like clearly, like some of you could have waited in the car or just stayed at home. But yeah, it just sucks. It's a really sucky situation for everybody right now.
yeah, for sure. Well, I do want to circle back to the course. We're welcome to keep talking, but my kind of priority as your instructor is to make sure that no matter what your individual circumstances right now, that you feel like you have what you need to succeed in this course. So if you are at a point where you're like, I'm going to withdraw from this class because I can't do this, let's chat, right? Let's talk about what we can do and how we can work together to get through it. And I recognize that this is unusual circumstances, so that's why I have a lot of leniencies built into the course now, because I'm not trying to make you not succeed. That's the exact opposite of what we're trying to do. We want to get you all through this so you can move on to whatever courses you were going to take next. Does anyone else have any concerns about the course? Again, now would be a good time to share those because you're probably not the only one.
So, like, I have a question about like the final exam.
Yeah.
So, how long is it gonna be to take it? I know
Like
for
how
like the regular
much?
exams are like an hour.
Yeah, so I will double check, but it should be an hour and 20 minutes. I'm going to pull it up right now just to make sure I'm not giving you misinformation. Yeah, an hour and 20 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, I was just wondering because like I know again because it's a final exam. Like one of my teachers has completely dropped it. They like decided that as like the math department. So I was like, I know it's not the same for everyone. I was just wondering for us. So yeah, that was about it.
Okay. Yeah, we do still have the final. But like all exams, it will be curved. So depending on kind of what the class average is, it'll be curved. So that being said, though, since we're all kind of asynchronous and completing stuff at different times, the curve won't happen until everybody's done. But no matter what, your grade can't get lower. It'll only get higher.
Oh, okay. All right. That's good then. Okay, that was pretty much the only thing I had to say. But yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and then I'm also going to be providing more extra credit opportunities. So there's going to be opportunities that are outside of the original 10-point cap, so you can earn more points and recoup some of it that way.
Will you specify between like the 10-point extra credit and like just like
Yep.
extra credit?
Yes.
Okay.
So in whatever I post, I will say this is not included in your 10-point cap. Any other questions or concerns? Are folks worried about any particular assignments like labs or visible body practicals?
I can't help but feel a little sad that we're not going to be able to like actually dissect a heart or any of
I
the
know.
Like I'm grateful that we had the opportunity to dissect what we could. But I was like really looking forward to some of that stuff because that's kind of like a one in a time opportunity type thing. I feel like I don't think I'll ever be able to dissect a heart just casually in any other setting. So, but I think it'll be okay.
Yeah, it's hard to like not be there and like see it. I feel like after our classes I'd always feel so much better about the content or so much better about the where things are and how things work instead of just like having to figure out invisible body. So I don't know, but we have lots of resources and it's definitely not impossible. So we're good.
Yeah. I mean, that makes me happy and bums me out at the same time that you're sad about missing those in-persons. I'm happy that it was beneficial previously, but obviously bummed that we can't do it. And as an instructor, like I get energized after classes, but teaching online, I don't get that anymore. I don't get the, interaction with you guys, which is a real bummer. But yeah, and then the dissections are kind of the most fun activities that we do. Okay, well, I'm going to stay signed on if anyone wants to keep chatting. Otherwise, you can go ahead and disconnect. Again, it was great seeing everybody. And then please don't hesitate to reach out to me if you need help.